Hey gang, welcome back to Let's Level Up. My name is Rick Perez, and on the table today, we're going to be talking all things Hotshots. This is a new one from Fireside Games, made by one of my favorite designers in the biz, Mr. Justin DeWitt. Now, this is a very interesting game because one, it's a co-op game, and two, it's from Justin DeWitt, maker of Castle Panic, and three, it is extremely difficult. And these two first things should have led us to that assumption. So let's take it to the table. Let me show you a sample round of how it's played and explain the different mechanics. And then we'll be right back here to give you my final thoughts of it. Now, before we get into the actual gameplay and whatnot for Hotshots, I would like to say that there is a insane level of wildfire going right now on the West Coast, specifically California, and it is near and dear to my heart because a lot of my family lives in this particular area of California, which is kind of southern. It's an inferno right now, and there are people out there who are risking their lives every single day to try to help contain this thing. Wildfires happen all the time, and Hotshots is a game that pays homage to the men and women who risk it all to try to keep us safe. So if you want to try to help, please consider looking in the links in the description of this video or on letslevelup.net. We'll include different pages of different charities where you can donate your time and money to and help the people of California and really everywhere that's affected by wildfire. So thank you so much. Again, look at the links somewhere down here in the video and we'll get you that information. Here we have Hotshots on the table. If you notice, we have a beautiful countryside kind of hexagonal map built out, which is randomized every game. And there's not a whole lot going on right now. Now, we almost have the game set up and ready to go. However, there's one thing that we're missing, and that's the danger element of this game. Now, in Hotshots, we play brave men and women who risk their lives every day to put out wildfires. So since this game's map is completely randomized, we're never quite going to know where we're going to put our starting fires. Now, look for each tile with an orange dot underneath the scorch symbol and put 2 fires on there under their current scorch mark. So since this scorch is at 4 fires, we're going to go ahead and put 2 fires on that, which is then going to make our board look something like that. Now that is a lot more dangerous. Now we're going to be starting here at our HQ, which actually randomizes and happened to get right next to the lake and in the center of the board. So we have a pretty good position. Now our objective here is to clear all of the fire off the board. It is much easier said than done. Now, in order to accomplish this objective, we're going to be taking one of our characters here, such as the Sawyer, the Crew Boss, Swamper, or Spotter, each with their own ability, and then we're going to use them throughout our turns to put out the fires. We have to work together here because this game, if you push your luck one too many times, you could have a backdraft and have something terrible happen. And the way that scorching works in this game, which we'll talk about later, can really come back and get you. But before we get to that, let's take a look at our heroes. Alright, the first hero we're going to look at is the Crew Boss. Now, her ability allows us to at one time on our turn, we may move one other player 1 tile. So she can kind of direct traffic. As long as the radio tower is standing, we can use her ability. Next up, we have the Sawyer. The Sawyer's ability says on your turn, you may convert any axes into chainsaws and vice versa. And we can do this as long as the mobile repair shop tile is up and not scorched. Next up, we have the Swamper, whose ability says that we can turn any McClouds into shovels and vice versa. And we can do this as long as the supply trailer tile is not scorched. And the last hero we have is the Spotter. The Spotter says that when we draw fire cards, we draw 2, put 1 into play, and return the other to the top of the deck. And we lose this ability if the lookout tower scorches. Now, the Spotter's ability is very, very essential. Knowing what fire card is going to be coming up next is a lot of information and one that we're going to definitely need to keep track of in order to win the game. Once all players have picked their hero that they'd like to play, go ahead and place them on the HQ in the center. And we'll have the wind marker there as well, pointing a current direction. Now that is the direction the wind is currently blowing, and if fire spreads, it's going to spread usually in the direction that wind is blowing. There are a few special tiles here, but one of the most important ones here is the lake. It allows us to, one, it can never scorch and fire can never be put there. We can't walk over it, but allows us to treat those adjacent areas to it as though there were somebody there with us, which basically gives us one save if we happen to crap out on our dice. We also have the vehicle depot, which comes with a helicopter, a biplane, and a car, which each have a special one-time use per game ability. The helicopter will drop water on an area as long as the helicopter is allowed to fly. As you can see here, there are certain tiles where there's no helicopter allowed, like here on the power lines. When you drop the helicopter, it's going to drop your character on that zone, and it's going to remove up to 3 fire from that zone. The airplane is going to move in a straight line and remove 1 fire and up to 3 different tiles. And the truck is going to allow us to place fire break tokens along its path as well as it's driving. All are very, very crucial that they are used at the appropriate times. Using them too soon may seem like a good idea, but it will come back and bite you. Trust me, you want to be very cautious with how you use those resources. It is a one-time per game use. Almost quite done for setup. Take all your fire cards and shuffle your different windbreak, remove your windbreak tokens out of that, and your winds change tokens. And you're going to basically make 6 different stacks, randomize these so that they are spread throughout the deck here. Now our fire cards deck is ready to play. Fire cards are going to be drawn at the end of every turn, and they basically cause bad things to happen. It can make the direction of the wind change. We can have strong gusts of wind, small gusts of wind. We can have different tiles that just ignite based upon what their current scorch limits are. And as you can see, most of everything has a pretty good scorch limit. There are a couple tiles here that are especially flammable. The dried brush tile has a scorch limit of 1, which means if 1 fire lands on that, it will immediately scorch. The propane tanks have a scorch value of 2, and if it happens to scorch, it will spread fire onto every adjacent tile. That could be really, really bad for us. And then the campground itself is filled with a lot of dry, burnable things, also has a scorch limit of 2. Some of the bigger areas here, like the radio tower and some of the other special abilities, have scorch limits of 5, and our HQ has a scorch limit of 4. Now again, we win the game once all of the fire tokens have been removed from the board. We lose the game, however, if 8 tiles happen to scorch or if our fire camp tile scorches as well. We've had a lot of talks about making a tile scorch, but what exactly does that mean and when does it occur? Again, if a tile happens to get more tokens on it that are equal to or greater than their current scorch limit, that tile will scorch. But what happens then? One, you remove all the flame tokens from that tile. They go back to the supply. You're going to flip the tile over to its scorch side, which looks like a gray, ashy wasteland. Then we're going to apply 1 flame token to an adjacent tile that is not currently blocked off with the lowest scorch rating. So, for instance, we just added a tile here to the 3. So you can notice, and you can have multiple tiles scorch during a turn, and tiles can scorch off of different scorch effects. So, for instance, if we had our propane tank blow up, 1, it's going to add fire tokens onto everything. It's also going to scorch, but it would cause this guy to scorch here and this guy to scorch here. That would be 3 scorchings just from that 1. That'd be a devastating area to have blow up. So we're going to want to play tiles on there to get rid of that, to make sure that it doesn't happen. So what you do on your turn is actually pretty straightforward. Your character can move up to 2 tiles. You can move in any direction as long as you're not violating a movement rule, like you can't move onto the lake, for example. The other thing you do after that is you decide to fight fire. So let's say we're going to be... let's say we're the Sawyer right now, and we get to change any Pulaski axes to chainsaws and vice versa. So we're going to take our guy, we're going to move him 1 tile over here, and then we're going to fight this fire. Now we currently have 3 fires out there, and in order to fight the fire, we're going to grab our dice, which you'll notice there are 6 different sides on these dice, all that have something to do with one of the symbols on the tile. So you can see here we have hoses, we have people, we have Pulaskis and chainsaws and McLeods and shovels. Each of these side represents one of those symbols. Now on every tile, minus the lake, there are 6 symbols here at the bottom. Now in order to fight the fire, we have to roll all the dice we have available to us, and then we'll bank certain dice that match with the symbols at the bottom. So for example, I need 2 Pulaskis, 1 crew, 1 McLeod, and 2 hoses here to fight this fire. The current tile that we're on has 2 chainsaws, a Pulaski, a crew, and 2 hoses. So what we'll do here is we'll take all of our dice. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out here. We'll take all 6 of our dice and we'll give them a good shake and a roll, and then we'll see what we get here. So we have 2 chainsaws and a Pulaski. So we're going to bank each of those 3 items. And now here we can decide whether or not we want to roll again. Now there are a couple things that really we have to keep in mind whenever we decide what we're going to roll and what we're not going to roll. One, the dice that I have banked are no longer allowed to be rolled. I can roll as many times as I want as long as my results have at least one value that I'm currently still needing. So I could roll these 3 dice, and as long as I have out of those 3 dice, one of them is a hose or one of them is a crew, I'm still in the fight here. I can still keep going and deciding to press my luck. But I have to have a certain number of successes before I can even remove 1 fire from the tile. Now at 3 successes, what I've currently rolled, I get to take a fire break token from the supply and place it between any side of the tile that I'm currently on. Now these fire break tokens are going to lay just like this, and they will stop certain tiles from spreading fire. So if I put that here, in a low gust, I can't have things blow over that side of that bridge. So basically putting up a wall between the tiles so that fires during low gusts aren't going to be able to spread in that direction. Each hex has 6 available sides to it that fire break tokens can be placed. Now in order to remove a flame token, we actually have to have 4 matching dice. To remove 2 flame tokens, we have to have 5 matching dice. And to remove 3 flame tokens, we have to have all 6 dice that are matching. Now, once we do this, whenever we have 5 matching dice, we can also, instead of removing 2, we can choose a reward token randomly from our supply to use at a later date. And each of these rewards, like this one here, would allow us to skip our fire card this turn. There are some that allow us to use resources and unlock certain things. Others allow us to move an additional space. So you're never quite knowing what you're going to get out of that. I usually just take the 2 fire tokens. To me, it makes way more sense to do that instead of the random draw of getting a reward token. Now, if I happen to get 6 dice, I get to remove 3 tokens, and I get a reward token there. So we're here in our current predicament. We've got 3 matches. Remember, we're the Sawyer here, whose special ability is to turn Pulaskis into chainsaws and chainsaws into Pulaskis. But we've already met all of our Pulaski and chainsaw quota here. So we can decide whether or not we want to roll again. Now, if we roll and we lose, it is a failure. And if we get a failure, we have a blow up. We basically set all dice aside, and we cancel any of the locked dice that we have. We add a flame token to the tile, and that may cause it to scorch. Now, if it causes it to scorch, we have a really bad situation, which will actually lose one of our dice and back in our supply permanently. Or I say permanently, until somebody forfeits their turn there and basically gives up and doesn't fight fire on their turn. That way, we can get that back in our thing. It's really, really bad if that happens. Every turn counts in this game, I promise you that. The other thing that happens here is that we can potentially have support. Now, this game is a game about teamwork, and even though we're pushing our luck in a solo capacity here when we're playing it, we still rely on the other hotshots here. And if we have support, that basically will negate 1 failure for every support that we have. So let's say that our spotter happened to be on here as well. That would basically allow me to fail 1 time and keep going without any sort of problem. I'm also adjacent to the lake. The lake automatically will give 1 support for every firefighter that is around the area. So if, again, the spotter's not here right now, I have 1 free get out of jail free basically roll. So let's go ahead and roll again and see what happens here. Now again, we need a crew and a hose. Okay, so we got the crew. We have the crew here. We've got a McLeod and a Pulaski, which aren't really going to do us any good. Now, we could stop here and remove 1, but again, we're right next to the lake. It doesn't make any sense for us not to go ahead and push our luck. So again, we're looking for hoses. If we can get 2 hoses right here, we can remove all 3 of the fires on that particular tile, and we are starting off this game really, really good. Okay, we got a hose, which is good in there. So again, we're going to go ahead and push our luck again. Yeah, we got basically another free chance because we haven't used our support yet for the lake. And there it is. Look at that. The hose that we needed. So not only do we get to remove all 3 fire tokens here. This is unbelievable. I've never done this, especially in this video. So not only do we get to remove all 3 of those fire tokens. Sorry, this fire break is not there in reality. We get a reward token, and let's see what this guy does. Oh, I actually flipped 1 over, so we'll use it. So here's our reward token that we have. Okay, so this tile here allows you to take cover during a tile that becomes scorched while you're on it to prevent you from losing a dice. So that terrible thing that I have happened, this will prevent that from happening in the future, which is really nice. So there we go. Now I'll tell you and that's something that all good co-op games do, is you get lured into this false sense of accomplishment, right? We're doing great. I just took off 3 fire tokens. That camp is saved, and we're good. We're awesome. We have nothing to worry about, right? Not so right. Now we go into our fire card phase. At the end of our 2 turns, at the end of our 2 actions, the 3rd step on every action is to draw a fire card. And bad things can happen when we do that. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to draw the top fire card. And we've got a bit of a problem. So we drew a really bad card. This card here, and of course it's the first one, right? This card here is a light breeze and a combining. So basically we're going to add 1 fire token in the direction of the light breeze, which right now the wind is blowing to the southeast. So every tile southeast is going to go ahead and get a fire. And it's combining, which means we'll go ahead and add fires where there are already existing fire tokens. Normally that would not happen during just a normal light breeze. So let's do that now and see what that looks like. Now, that doesn't seem so bad. Since we are southeast, we couldn't really add any fire tokens here or here, which is fine. We did add tokens here and here, and another one there. So that's okay, but we had added a fire token to our dried brush, which means that this right here is going to scorch. So already on turn 1, we have 7 more scorches to go before we lose the game. Since that tile scorched, we're going to go ahead and add a flame token to an adjacent tile that is not blocked off with the lowest scorch rating, which is our propane tank. So ouch. We thought we were doing well. We removed 3 fire tokens, but we just added 1, 2, 3, 4 more and had a scorch in it. That is an example of 1 turn in the game. This is an intense pressure luck co-op game and one that I can't get enough of on the table right now. Follow me back to the game room. We're going to give you my final thoughts here. Well, that is it for Hotshots. Again, Justin DeWitt, what can you say about Fireside games? I mean, every single Fireside game that I have played, I've absolutely fallen in love with. From Dashly Dirigibles, Castle Panic, there are so many great games. Even some of the ones that the DeWitts didn't design, like Here Kitty Kitty. Very, very good. They're just a studio who's constantly putting out quality hit after hit after hit, and it's one of those things that I really, really adore them for, I guess is the right word. Oh, I didn't mention Bloodsuckers. How dare I? I love Bloodsuckers. Play Bloodsuckers. Fantastic game. Seriously. You should play it right now. It's that good. and nobody plays it. Sorry, I'm digressing from the Hotshots thing now. It's just Bloodsuckers is so good. You know, we're going to feature Bloodsuckers later one of these days. Anyway, back to Hotshots. Hotshots is a game where I don't like push your luck games as a whole. I'm just say that. There are a few that I play because my friends are big fans of them. But I didn't think that a push your luck co-op game was something that was going to really work. Dice games particularly are less multiplayer, and even Hotshots has that problem if you are a very social gamer. And when I take my turn, I can talk to everybody about what I'm going to do, but at the end of the day, I'm responsible for rolling those dice and deciding whether or not I'm going to keep going. So in the essence, when I'm taking my turn, it is a bit of a solo experience, but if I'm playing well with the others around, I can rely on them for support. And again, we're strategizing as a team. So you're you may run the risk of the alpha gamer type person at your table if you're playing this at your FLGS or something like that, which I know a lot of people stray away from co-op games because of that reason. I don't really have that problem. My problem is more with the lack of social dynamics that occur in dicey games. I don't really feel that with Hotshots, which is something that I really enjoy. Right? I enjoy the games that I can talk to my wife and my son and whoever's at the table with us as we're playing, talk about strategy, and then see that strategy work wonderfully or fail spectacularly. And Hotshots gives you both of those moments with a single die roll. Man, you really never know what you're going to get with this thing. And it's kind of a beautiful concept, and one that really opened my eyes to the co-op genre and adapting some more things from other genres like Push Your Luck. I mean, at the end of the day, if the dice won't let you get there, you're not going to win this game. You can make a million right decisions. If you can't roll a McLeod when you need a McLeod, you are screwed. And there's something really nice about that. Each of the four characters have their own unique abilities, and I think they're really awesome. The wind mechanic, in which the direction the wind is currently blowing affects the direction in which fire can move, is something that's spectacular in its simplicity and absolutely unforgiving in the way that it affects the board. And there's a lot of life in those tiles, especially we had it set up for the standard configuration, but if you look in the game booklet, there's a few different configurations you can set up to mimic some state parks like Zion and Yellowstone and things like that, which are really cool, especially if you're a park person. I think you really like it. It is very, very difficult. We played this game a bunch of times. I've only won once, and I will say we were incredibly lucky. We could not roll what we didn't needed to roll, and it just it really worked for us that time. We've had a couple times where we've gone within just a few turns from winning and then lost it all. And games that we thought we were absolutely dominating the entire time, and then just spectacular loss in the end, which is one of those things, again, that co-op games in general tend to do, the good ones anyways. But this is one that's really good. And so if you haven't seen enough about Hotshots, I strongly suggest you take a look at firesidegames.com and go to Instagram and Twitter and just ask people what they think about Hotshots. I've seen this played all over the place, and it is definitely one that you should get on yourselves in time for Christmas. It is a great game for the entire family, and it's a theme that I think, particularly right now, is really kind of amazing. I mean, there's a lot of problems right now in the U.S. regarding wildfires. Australia was hit with a devastating wildfire a few years ago that a few of my friends had to evacuate for. In my area of Texas was hit with one 6 or 7 years ago, and I had friends lose property and lose livestock and things. So it's one of those things that's near and dear to my heart. It is. I'm not a big disaster movie guy. I don't revel in that kind of stuff, but you give me a chance to try to make things right in a board game, I'm going to try to do it, only because I'm too scared to get out there and do the real thing. So the Hotshots is an homage to those people, again, who are risking it all, and I think there's something very, very awesome about that. So check it out. I think this game is amazing. It is definitely 2 thumbs up on the Let's Level Up approval scale, and one that I think everybody should have, because there is something for everybody in this game. So Hope you guys liked this video. Please, if you did, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave us a like, a thumbs up, or whatever you want. Some comments below. Tell us how you think of the channel, and or what you think of the channel, rather. And if there's nothing else, until next time, thank you so much, and game on.